お絵かきなら何でも来いのリルム様、登場。ねえねえ。
Hello everyone, Silverox here, and this is the part 2 with the Final Fantasy VI collaboration event with the units Celes, Setzer, and Relm, and this is the review that is covering Relm, the Magi Painter. So what does Relm, the Painter, do in Octopath Traveler COTC? She is a dancer, and her role is that she is an elemental magic exploit support and neutral magic DPS, plus lots of follow-up attacks. Her special abilities is that she can use her magic paint to grant all allies the ability to exploit that color of paint's element with any magic attack, and can also do multiple follow-up attacks when allies exploit weaknesses. Her preferred weapons are Brilliant Fans for damage cap for DPSing, as she lacks innate damage cap, and if only supporting Fortune Fans for back row follow-ups is fine to ensure they hit harder. Preferred accessories would be damage cap for main DPSing, magic attack up or support gear for back row support and follow-up attacks. If you get her A4, she can use that to speed up her max paint setup time, although it's really not required because it only barely helps. So for her passive skills plus latent power, her basic passive is that after taking an action, if Relm has certain paint combos, she will grant all allies special paint from them. If she has red and blue paint, she will give purple paint to all allies for 3 turns. If she has red and yellow paint, she will give orange paint to all allies for 3 turns. And if she has blue and yellow paint, she will give green paint to all allies for 3 turns. So to briefly take a little detour from the passives to explain how paint works, as you can see at the bottom right, paint, how it works. Paint buffs are a unique buff that cannot be extended with accessory/passives and only self-stacked. If a paint buff reaches 9 turns in duration, it becomes permanent for that battle. Paint lets any magic-based attack exploit that color's elemental weakness. So if a unit has red paint on them, they can exploit fire weakness with any magic attack. If they have blue paint, they can exploit ice, yellow for lightning, green for wind, orange for light, purple for dark. It is very, very straightforward and simple. So for her 1-star passive, when a front row ally exploits a weakness, Relm will perform a 1-hit AoE neutral follow-up attack that of 1 × 50 power. If Relm has 3+ permanent paint buffs, it will do 2 hits instead. And her 6-star skill evolution is that if Relm has all 6 permanent paint buffs, her follow-up attack will be 3 hits instead. Her 3-star passive is that she grants herself the following buffs based on the number of paint buffs that she has. And considering that she can give herself a lot of the paint buffs really quickly and easily, it's very easy to get this up. If she has at least one paint buff on herself, she grants herself 30% elemental damage up plus magical crit. If she has 3 or more paint buffs on herself, she will grant herself 30% magic attack up and raise the passive magic attack limit on herself to 50%. And if she has all 6 paint buffs on herself, she will add 70% of her physical attack stat to her magic attack. And the reason that is so high, is a little segue, is that she does neutral elemental damage, which means even though her elements are exploiting a weakness, so they're hitting a weakness to shave shields and stuff, she is not getting that 2 times damage multiplier because she's not actually using an element on a weakness, if that makes sense. Because exploiting a weakness is not the same thing as doing the full damage. So that's why she's getting all this max damage up, the extra P attack and everything like that, because she is missing out on some of that damage. That 2 times damage multiplier, but she does still get the break multiplier. Her TP passive is her latent power, and it has a 1-turn initial cooldown and a 3-turn reuse cooldown. And what it does is it grants herself Rainbow Brush, changing all skills to the following for this turn. She gets a 5-hit AoE fire, ice, or lightning attack that grants all allies either red, blue, or yellow paint matching that element for 9 turns, making it basically giving them permanent paint buff instantly with that for that 1 paint type. The TP level 2 enhancement was recently revealed for this, and all it does is it just changes the initial cooldown to become 0 turns, and the reuse cooldown becomes 2 turns, allowing her to use it instantly and faster. However, the enhancement priority for this is low, because you want to use her 4-star skill turn 1 regardless. You'll see why in a minute. So as a reminder, TP level 2 releases for global on July 16th. Relm will not have hers until she reruns in the future, probably around Final Fantasy X for us, which is probably next year. So just keep that in mind, that while you can see her enhancements in advance, you're not going to be able to get them right away. And also, if you're curious about how TP2 enhancement works, check the description below. There is a guide for that that will be up either soon or is there already. Also, because of that, TP2 mats are very slow to get, and you want to be very picky in how you use them. So with this review, other Final Fantasy VI reviews, and all my other future reviews for all units that have TP2, I'm going to be rating the enhancement priority, in my opinion, from low, medium, high to mandatory for units, so you know what's important, which units that it's best to save and use TP2 mats on versus ones that you don't really need to use it on until you have an excess of them for some reason. Alright, so moving on to her skills. Her base kit, she has a 3-hit random target elemental neutral attack that grants all allies either red, blue, or yellow paint for 6 to 9 turns. This actually can be a surprisingly useful base kit skill because it is random which paint it picks, but if it picks a paint that you haven't used yet, or if it's at the very beginning and you don't have any of them, that you can cap to a permanent 9 turns paint right away with a little bit of luck. Then she has a self-heal skill that also gives her HP regen and SP regen for 5% of her max SP for 3 to 6 turns. However, this will also put herself to sleep for 2 turns, so it's not that great to use. Then she has a 3-hit AoE elemental neutral attack that exploits fire and grants all allies red paint for 3 to 6 turns. A 3-hit AoE elemental neutral that exploits ice, granting all allies blue paint for 3 to 6 turns. And a 3-hit AoE elemental neutral that exploits lightning, granting all allies yellow paint for 3 to 6 turns. Then she has a 2-hit random target elemental neutral that at max boost does 1 extra hit per type of paint Relm has, up to 6 additional hits. These extra hits exploit fan and ignore evasion effects. The first 2 hits don't exploit fan and ignore evasion, but since you're able to exploit, if you have paint already, exploit all elemental weaknesses, that shouldn't matter. This is an 8-hit skill, and this is her best nuking option. Her 4-star skill, and as mentioned earlier, is one you're going to want to use turn 1 almost always if you're using her, is a 3-hit single-target elemental neutral that exploits fire, ice, and lightning, and has a medium 50% chance to inflict paralysis for 2 turns, and then she also grants herself red, blue, and yellow paint for 2 to 5 turns. And the reason this is good is if you remember her basic passive, she's going to give herself red, blue, and yellow paint, and then at the end of her turn, now that she has red, blue, and yellow paint, she's going to immediately use that paint, all the combinations, to give all allies 3 turns of green, orange, and purple paint. And as long as she has red, blue, and yellow paint for 4 turns, then in exactly 4 turns, you're going to have 9 turns and permanent of green, orange, and purple. That's just how it works. So her setup time for everybody to have permanent of those elements is basically 4 turns. Then her 5-star skill is a 1-hit AoE elemental neutral that the power scales the lower her HP is, up to 2 times power at less than 10% HP. Bonus damage cap for the skill is based on the number of types of paint Relm has. If she has at least 1 paint, 50,000 damage cap up. If she has at least 3 different paints, 200,000 damage cap up. And if she has all 6 paints on herself, 400,000 damage cap up. Then she has a 1 to 8 hit single target elemental neutral attack. That is a random number of hits. And at max boost, the number of hits is fixed to 2 hits at a higher power that ignores defense and damage reduction effects. Then her TP skill is a countdown of 3, that at the end of the countdown perform a 1-hit random target elemental neutral attack that exploits dagger for some reason. This is a 1-hit Giga Nuke skill, but it is actually good to use despite the SP cost, because it is like Zerk's countdown skill in that you can set it up in advance and then it's going to do that bonus hit like after her normal turn that turn. So it is a free bonus hit without having to use it that turn, so it can be useful. The TP level 2 enhancement for this skill is that this skill gains 200,000 damage cap up and a 1.5 times damage cap multiplier if the enemy is broken. That is like how Finn has a 1.5 times damage cap multiplier. This is like separate from the normal damage cap multi. It's just a straight 50% of all sources of damage cap on this specific skill it gets applied. So the skill basically actually has 300,000 damage cap up plus all her other sources of damage cap times 50%. So this one hit does get a good bit stronger. Because of that and how this is a countdown skill and not use on one turn, therefore lose a lot of damage skill, the enhancement priority if you're active using her is actually high in my opinion, because this actually makes it pretty useful because it's going to do a lot more damage. For her EX skill plus ultimate technique, her EX skill has 2 total uses and it's unlocked from turn 3 onwards. and it's an all allies heal, plus grant them red, blue, and yellow paint for 3 to 6 turns. And also grant self a 1 BP regen for 2 to 5 turns, and double cast for the next 3 offensive skills. So this is an exceptional EX skill that you can use to easily cap off red, blue, and yellow paint if you set up properly on turns 1 and 2, or on herself. You may not get like your allies to permanent paint, but the most important thing is that she gets permanent paint, not her allies, because like most fights are not going to go that long anyway. Plus, it's easy if you are using her to just keep giving them the red, blue, and yellow paint if necessary. The main goal of Relm is to get her to 9+ turns and make all 6 of her paints permanent. So she's gonna have the permanent paint on turn 4 for green, orange, and purple. So you want to get red, blue, and yellow maxed ASAP. So if you do the skills properly, you can have red, blue, and yellow maxed on like turn 3 and 4 as well. Very, very easily. And then like the double cast for the next 3 offensive skills, you remember how she has that 8 hit? Well, now it's a 16 hit. So there you go. So she can do quite a good amount of hits and damage. Her ultimate technique is a damage cost ultimate called Star Prism. It's a 1-hit AoE elemental neutral that gains 1 additional hit per paint type that Relm has, ignoring evasion, making this go up to 7 hits. Unfortunately, this pales in comparison to her 16 hits, so not very good, unfortunately. At Ultimate 10 and 20, the power just gets a lot stronger. At Ultimate 20, it's a 40% initial charge, getting 30% charge per BP, 60% with AU. And that means it costs 6 BP to full charge, 3 BP with AU. The 200% gauge activation bonus is Super Burst, which means this ultimate gains a 50% stackable potency up to its ult's damage. And the AU priority for this, in my opinion, is to honestly leave this unawakened, because her best damage options are for double casting her skills, not her ult. Onto her Awakenings plus A4 accessory plus TP2 bonus. A1 extra stats help Relm hit harder since elemental neutral attacks do not get weakness damage bonus. A2 can be nice but not necessary. A3 Dancer Squishy, so HP is always good. The A4 accessory is the Memento Ring. It gives 40 SP and 120 magic attack. When an ally breaks an enemy, grant the user red, blue, and yellow paint for 2 turns. And at the start of battle, grant the user red, blue, and yellow paint for 2 turns. So the A4 tier rating for this is honestly a B tier A4, because the stats are fine, but the effects really only matter if used specifically on Relm. By starting battles with red, blue, and yellow paint already at 2 turns, she can get those permanent and work on allies' permanent paint slightly faster, so it's very niche in its use. This can give someone else paint as well for 2 turns for exploiting and on break, but that's not really worth an accessory slot for only 2 turns worth, nor chasing a triple banner collab A4. Plus, from what we can tell, like, it only speeds up Relm setup by maybe 1 turn, and that's just, like, not really super necessary, honestly, so it's really not that amazing of an A4. It looks like it's really, really good, but it's fine. You know what I mean? So anyway, the TP level 2 enhancement bonus with both active and passive TP2s unlocked for Relm is that Relm gains an additional 50,000 damage cap just on top of everything, which she desperately needs if you're actively using her for DPS. So her enhancement priority for this is a high priority, in my opinion, to get both. Even if the latent power one isn't super high, if you are actively using Relm, you need to get it anyway to get the bonus. Optimal skill loadout. Skill 1, the 3-hit single target elemental neutral that grants self red, blue, and yellow paint for 2 to 5 turns, because if you start battles with this, to also immediately give all allies green, orange, purple paint for 3 turns, it'll do that automatically every turn until maxed out on turn 4. Skill 2, the TP countdown skill for a big mega nuke auto cap extra hit on break, because it's very easy to set up, similar to Zerk, just not quite as good as his. Skill 3, the 2 to 8 hit random target elemental neutral, because when double casted, this is an easy 16 hit, and 19 hits with her follow-up attacks if you've maxed all her paint permanently. Skill 4, I would take the 3-hit AoE elemental neutral that gives all allies 1 paint of your choice as needed. Can swap in over the 16 hit if supporting more of the DPSing, or use 2 of them for more paint options instead of the TP skill as needed. Kind of just depends on how you're using her. For unit synergy, Relm works in any magic team, as she can enable any magic user to exploit all elemental weaknesses while providing constant follow-up attacks. Thus, the unit synergy section for her is basically any magic team. However, due to Lynette EX existing Setzer comboed with her has pretty much stolen her thunder almost entirely, unless your account lacks Linetti X. In terms of making Relm a main DPS, which you can do, she lacks damage cap and self-potency up, so having an ult buffer like Rinyu EX or Molarusso EX to give her extra cap and potency helps her a ton. So to pull or not to pull plus overall rating, global meta divergence. In JP, Relm was the biggest draw of part 2 by far, with her easy to set up in a few turns all elemental exploits with paint and strong follow-up game. However, in global, we have units like Zerk for insane follow-up attacks and Linetti X for massive rainbow support that can implant every elemental weakness all at once. Because with Setzer, he can lock them all, allowing an instant turn 1 elemental exploit setup instead of 4 turns with Relm. That being said, she is still a very strong elemental damage dealer in support and can perform her follow-up attacks from the back row as well. So while Setzer plus Linetti X stole her thunder, she is still a very good unit. Don't let anybody say she's bad. It's just that if you're very limited on rubies and you have to be very picky, it's just Setzer might be a better for your account instead of getting both. As always, pull advice is just advice. Please pull and have fun your own way. Tier 4, free to play. If you have Linetti X, Setzer is your draw. Skip, A0 otherwise. Tier 3, low spins, less passes, same as above. Tier 2, Dolphin, A0 is enough to max your uses and have fun with some crazy follow-up game. See a video on that in the future because I'm going to do 100 hits in one turn. It's going to be fun. Tier 1, Whale, A4, AU if you must for collection. Overall rating, DPS, S plus potential. Support, S. Heal, B. Tank, not available. Overall tier, S. It's like, it doesn't matter that, like, there's other good options in Setzer Solar Thunder. She's still an S tier unit for what she can do, because, like, you can build her up to be very strong. 16 hits plus 3 follow-up attacks is still very good. Just because the Rainbow team can technically do it better doesn't make her bad. So, like, I can't rate her lower even if it's a unit that you don't necessarily need. So just, like, kind of keep that in mind. Like, I'm not going to rate a unit bad even if it's just not super needed, if that makes sense. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching this video. I appreciate all the support on the channel as I'm trying to make this work full-time, as with my disability I can't work normal jobs, so trying to do YouTube full-time is really all I have for myself right at the moment. So all the support really matters. Please check out the other Final Fantasy VI unit reviews linked below as well. If you're interested in learning how to get better at the game, I do have several guides linked in the description for team building, how to hit big number damage, you know, ultimate level 20, all that's on my channel. Check out the Octopath Traveler COTC playlist below as well. And if there's anything else, I'm very open to suggestions to try to make more content and guides and reviews to try to help people or do some clears if possible. Just be aware I can't just do anything, and I am not going to handhold or super guide you in your account. I will help you get better at the game, but I'm not going to just tell you what to do exactly. Otherwise, please like and subscribe for more COTC content to come, and I hope everybody enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.